Good morning, everyone. Let me start by saying it's a pleasure to be here and speaking at TEDxBITSHyderabad. Today, the theme of the topic is unaltered through time. And basically, I'm going to be speaking about some of the core principles that have remained unchanged and witnessed and withstood the test of time throughout an entrepreneur's journey over the last few decades. But before I start, I would like to do a small exercise with all of you. So can I get all of you guys to please stand up? And can you guys open your wallets or whatever and take out any currency note that you have in your wallet? I promise I'm not going to ask you for it. Once you've done that, can you just sort of fold it, crumble it the way I'm doing in my hand right now? Just, crumble it really, really well and place it in your back pocket, and if you don't have a pocket, on your seat, and sit back down, please. So, who's an entrepreneur? How does one identify, or how does one become an entrepreneur? In my experience over the last 10 odd years, I believe that we all have this common trait amongst us that allows us to spot an opportunity, whether big or small, doesn't matter, to make money by identifying gaps in the existing market or problem that you're trying to solve. However, less than 1% of people ever act on that opportunity they have spotted. And the reason for that is because they don't have enough time, or they're waiting for something bigger to come along, or they just think that it's not valuable enough, or the biggest and the most common reason, what if I fail? I believe that whenever I would have spotted an opportunity, I would have taken action on that. And I would like to take you guys through a couple of examples to show what I did. So back in 2002, I went to university in the UK. I was 17 at that point, and during university, I used to come back to India, and whenever I used to come back to India, I used to take back gifts for my friends at university. And for all my lady friends, I used to take back pieces of fashion silver jewelry. Now, the great thing about studying at university for me was that I was surrounded by a lot of people from a lot of different countries. And this included my friends as well. And when I used to give these gifts to them, they were amazed by it and they used to love it. And in fact, over a period of time, they started asking me to bring back jewelry, not just for them, but also a few pieces of gift for their friends or family, which they could gift further. Telling them the value of it, which obviously I used to tell an inflated value, they still used to think that it is so cheap and it was it would make a great gift. Spotting or sensing an opportunity in this, one time I came back and I bought nearly 150, 200 pieces of jewelry with me. And these are, silver trinkets, earrings, rings, etc. I took pictures of all of them and put them up on eBay. And I got these friends of mine to actually partner with me. And we created a network through which we started selling these jewelry, not just on campus, but they also started selling them back across their respective countries. Needless to say, over a period of 2 years, not only did I get to travel across various countries with my friends, and we used to do these small exhibitions where we used to put up stalls for fashion jewelry, but we were able to build this up into a significant business, which meant that all of us had a lot more pocket money to spend, and it enabled us to travel across Europe. And that was the pocket money for me during that time period. Fast forward a few more years, and I had successfully got a job as an investment banker at one of the best banks in the world in London. In the year 2007, India was touring England, and obviously I wanted to go and watch a cricket match. The match was at Lord's, and I remember it was the first time I was ever going to Lord's because it used to cost a lot of money, and being a student till then, I didn't have any money. But now that I was an investment banker, I realized that, this is what I want to do. So I ended up paying a huge amount of money, which was overly inflated, to buy tickets from a secondary market, because that's just what I wanted to do. However, after watching the match, I realized that, hang on a minute, there are actually people out there who are buying tickets in advance and then selling them on and making a huge killing. So after digging through this a little bit more, I realized that tickets for sporting events such as cricket, tennis, rugby, or even music concerts in the UK tend to get sold out 6 to 8 months in advance. And people who do this actually end up making close to 3x to 5x in terms of a return in a short period of 6 to 8 months. And I realized, wow, and I want to do this. And the thing to note is about the culture at that point in UK and Europe was that people want to do things at the last minute. And when they decide they want to do something, cost is not a factor because it's all about the experience. So I thought this is a great idea to make some money on the side. I started buying tickets for events in advance, and I started selling them on these secondary websites. Now, the limitation was that one person could only buy a certain number of tickets. So I got my friends involved in this as well. And over a period of time, we started selling tickets and across for multiple sporting events. It just escalated from there on, and we never realized, but it became quite big. I was one of the top sellers on a couple of platforms as well. And the best thing about this was that even when I decided that I'm going to quit my job and move back to India in 2011, at that point in time, I was able to enlist the help of my boss and his wife. And even after coming back to India, I was able to continue this venture. And eventually, this is how much money I ended up making over the next few, over the period of 3 years, which actually enabled me to fund Dineout for the initial few years. So this was the seed capital that actually started Dineout off. So that's around 40,000 pounds was the profit that I made on top of that, and this is 2011, so that's a lot of money. So eventually, what I'm trying to say is that there are opportunities all around us. Doesn't matter whether it's a big or small. You can do an opportunity, you can explore it while you're doing your current job, whatever you're doing, or you can choose to quit your job to start a completely different ballgame. Now, I want another help from some of you. So I have this 500 rupee note in my hand. Can someone come and get it from me? I'm waiting for someone to come and literally get it. Anyone? No, you have to actually come and get it. Quickly. Thanks. What's your name? Aarti, thanks. I promise I will not ask you back for it at the end of the talk. A lot of times, people start something because of a personal problem they faced or a gap they've identified in the service. However, it's also a fact that a lot of startups fail because of the simple fact that there was not enough demand for that service. What they did not realize is that maybe not enough people actually face the same problem, and hence the startup that they have started eventually ends or eventually shuts down because of lack of demand. In 2010, 2011, when we were evaluating what to do with my co-founder, we looked at various industries, and what we found out was that the Indian restaurant industry was going through a transformation. The Indian economy was expanding, and more people had disposable incomes in their hand. And eventually, it was going to reach a stage where it's going to be mirroring the West, where more and more people are going to be dining out from a perspective of an everyday thing rather than a very occasion-led thing. So if we look back 15 years, 20 years back, people used to dine out only when it was to celebrate a birthday or an anniversary. But we could understand that that is going to change over a period of time. And hence, we decided to quit our jobs, move back to India, and start Dineout. However, it's also important to note that what we were able to identify at that time eventually turned out to be a huge opportunity. And today, basically, in 2019, an industry report published said that more than 5 billion Indians are going to be dining out in 2020. Think about it. If you dine out multiple times, that's the size of the overall covers that are going to visit the restaurant. What does that mean for us? In 2020, Dineout is only going to seat 50 million diners. So that means that's only 1% of the overall available market, and that means it's a huge market ahead of us. And hence, what I'm trying to say is that the same thing is seen across multiple other industries such as food deliveries or cabs, etc. So it's important to identify the correct opportunity. Now, before I get on to the next one, I have another 500 rupee note. Can someone come and get it? Quickly. Quickly, someone. I'm still waiting. Here you go. Thanks. What's your name? Samarth. Samarth. Thank you, Samarth. So basically, if you guys would have noticed, the first time I did that, it took nearly 40-45 seconds for the first person to come up. But the second time I did that, Samarth was really quick, and I could see him jump out of his chair over there. And it took him less than 20 seconds to get up there, get up here. Why? What changed? When I did this the first time, people did not know if it's a real or a genuine opportunity. They thought, what's going to happen? Will I get this or not? And hence, there was this hesitation. But then, when it was proved that I'm actually giving 500 rupees away, Samarth was quick to jump on it. And the only thing that had changed in that was that market validation had already happened at that point in time. And hence, he was quick to react on it. The same way, across the globe, startups every day start to solve a basic problem which they've faced. It's always the first person who starts is the market leader, but as soon as he gets some traction, it becomes very quickly the idea is copied. And this is true across the globe in any country, and the idea eventually gets copied across different countries as well. However, the most important thing, how do you stay ahead of this, is to execute well. Execution is the key. When we were starting Dineout in 2012, there was already another company doing this. We looked at them very closely. We studied what they were doing. We understood their flaws. And we realized that we need to do this, and this better to stay ahead of them. And eventually, we did that. And we became larger than them. However, within 12 months of starting up, we realized that there have been 10 other companies who are now doing the same thing and blatantly copying us. At that point in time, we stayed true to our course, and over the period of next 12 months, all these companies shut down. And the only reason for that was execution. Their flaw was that they tried to copy us, whereas we had improved. By the time they had copied us, we had improved on what we were doing. So stay ahead of the competition is the key, and the key to that is execution. Focus on the core. I think this is the most important message. So 98% of startups shut shop within the first 24 months. And this is true for funded startups as well. Arguably, 2011, the last decade has been the decade of startups. And I've been doing this since 2011. And I've seen this, a lot of companies come and go. And the main reason that startups fail is loss of focus. What does one mean by that? So once you start doing something, you will realize that there are multiple things around that ecosystem which are broken and have an opportunity and which you need to fix. Startup founders, by default, have a lot of confidence, and especially true for the ones who've gone on and raised money. They think of themselves as indestructible. They believe that they can solve it all, and they eventually end up in a situation where they stretch themselves too thin and are fighting multiple battles at the same time and end up winning nothing. Hence, the same happened with us. When we started off Dineout, within 6 months of starting Dineout, we raised a round of angel money. That gave us a lot of confidence, and we realized that there are multiple things that are broken around our industry as well. So we realized that the same way people have problems finding tables at restaurants, they also have problem booking venues for weddings or functions. So we started a banqueting vertical. We realized that people have a challenge doing party bookings at restaurants. We started a party booking vertical. We realized that the Indian restaurant ecosystem is largely unorganized due to the lack of technology, so we decided to build software for it. Eventually, within a short period of 12 months, we had started 5 new verticals. And what happened? We overhired. We basically overstretched ourselves. We trying to do multiple things, overspent, and realized that we're running out of money. And competition, what I spoke about earlier, was gaining traction on us. The day we realized that, we thought, and we took it upon ourselves to introspect, we realized that we'd lost focus. And eventually, if we wanted to win this game, we need to sort of get back to the core of what we're trying to do. So we shut down everything that we had started up, got back and focused on solving that one thing that we had set out to solve. And eventually, I believe that today, that is what has been the key to our success, that we've been in this business since 2011, and we're actually the second oldest food tech startup in India. However, I'm not saying that it's not important to expand. What I'm trying to say is that it's important to understand when is the time right and identify the opportunity. So today, Dineout has 8 different verticals, but 7 of those verticals have come up in the last 4 years, whereas the first 4 years we just spent trying to perfect what we were good at and made sure that no one else would ever be able to beat us on that. I think the most important thing for all startup founders is team, and the team. If you look at startups across the globe, the one thing that has not changed is that whether it's Facebook, Amazon, Google, Flipkart of the world, the founders have always focused on the team. Dineout started with 4 founders. We had known each other since we were 5 years old. We'd gone to the same school. And one of the main reasons why we've been able to succeed today is because these 4 founders, we trusted each other, we had our back, and we were able to take care of each other when one of us was going through a difficult period in our lives. Because the life of a startup founder is a very difficult and a lonely journey. And you need someone to understand that. So it's very important to build teams with like-minded people. Also, it's very important, as I said earlier, that you cannot solve all the problems by yourself. Hence, it's important to identify people who are solving similar problems and eventually figure out a way to work with them. So in our journey over the last few years, we've acquired 4 companies in Resto, Caucus, Gourmet Passport, and Binge Digital. And the founders of all of that today are with us, executing and building on the same vision. And finally, always create value. It's important to create value for customers, create value for consumers, and create value for the shareholders. If you look at Uber, they've created value for the drivers and the riders. If you look at Amazon, they've created value for the merchants and for the consumers. And eventually, you will create value for the shareholders. Now, can I just get you guys to stand up once again and take out the note that you had kept in your back pocket? Fantastic. Can I get all of you just to unfold it back to its original shape? So, we subjected this note through a lot of scrutiny. We crunched it up, we squeezed it, we put it in our back pockets, we sat down on it. However, the one thing that did not change, or we were not able to change, was the value of this note. The same way, and this is the most important lesson for anyone, as a startup founder, you will go through a roller coaster ride with multiple ups and downs. You will be questioned, you will be ostracized, you will at times wonder what you're doing is worth it and whether you will be able to succeed. At that point in time, it's important to understand and realize that your value should never, ever be diminished. You are like this rupee note. Whatever happens to you, you remain unchanged. And believe me, that's one of the main reasons that you will be able to succeed. With that, thank you all. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.